welcome to the sitting room of Jane Austen's cottage, home of the wonderful Miss Jane Austen, and now presenting Jane Austen, live! Tell us about yourself, Jane.
Well, Rena, I was born in England in 1775. My dear old mother tells me often I was a very good baby. My father was rector with good morals and intelligence. Our home, known to us as Steventon Rectory, was tastefully simple and very large. We visited other country homes like ours too, the homes of relatives quite often. Among them, Goddersham Park was one of our favorites. Large and fanciful, it was perhaps the most elaborately built house of our knowledge at that time.
You must have went to school.
I have 7 brothers and 1 sister, and all of us were sent to school when we were young. At the school me and my sister went to, there was an epidemic of what the headmistress calls putrid throat. We both became ill and were sent home.
Did the students die from this epidemic?
Well, a great many, I think. Even one of our distant cousins had to leave us.
A tragedy indeed. What an effect this must have had on your family. And now for a commercial break. Classic Johnson tailoring. Need a ball gown? And quick, Johnson's is the place to go for stylish ball gowns to satisfy your every desire. And now back to our show. Jane, when did your family realize you had writing talent?
My sister Cassandra is an excellent artist, and when I was 15, we created our own comical version of the history of England with Cassandra's lovely watercolor drawings and my words. My family loved our creative efforts. It was then both Cassandra and I found our talent.
Very interesting. Now, when did you begin your first novel?
Lady Susan was probably one of my earliest efforts in about 1795.
Tell us about this effort.
Well, I had a very wealthy cousin, Eliza, who would thrill my humble family with her tales of exciting London balls and suitors. This inspired me to write about my thoughts on Eliza's life. It was not a success, though, for I had not experienced the life I was writing about.
Did this frustrate you?
No, Rita, it actually inspired me to write about things I knew more about. More tea?
Speaking of tea, Classic Johnson tea is simply the best tea you could possibly have, full of flavor and at a price you can afford. Compliments your parties with Classic Johnson tea. You were saying?
I was asking if you wanted more tea.
Indeed I do. Have you ever been married or engaged?
I have never married, but I was engaged for a very short while to a Paris bigwither, a rich man who was unfortunately one of the dullest people I have ever met. However, if I had married him, my parents and family would be financially secured forever.
Aha. What was your favorite book you've ever written?
I suppose I am the most proud of Pride and Prejudice. I always refer to it as my own dear child.
Fascinating. Very fascinating. Well, it's been fascinating talking to you today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rita.
The end. Fascinating. Very fascinating.